Hey everyone, so today we're going to be checking out what effect the changes in 8.16 had. The biggest one actually seems to be to Zoe. Her win rate tanked downwards after those nerfs. Thankfully, we are not going back to a full tryhard tank meta just yet either. Not quite. I'm actually away with family this weekend, but Pro Guides came in to edit this video for me, so a massive thank you to them. You can check out the guides on their site and use their genius feature to ask questions to high-elo players 24/7. They even gave me $50 of RP to give away to you guys on this video. So just leave a comment below to enter and make sure you go to subscribe to their YouTube channel as well, which I'll link down below. So timestamps, all that lovely stuff down in the description, but AD carries didn't really have that many changes in 8.16. In my opinion, there is like a clear set of 5, maybe 6 champions at the very top. First of which is going to be Draven, probably one of the best one-trick champions you can actually play as an AD. He can definitely solo carry the game when he's ahead. Part of that is because he's kind of stronger at like 1, 2, maybe even 3 items than any others really. Like you can't duel him at all really. He's going to have lifesteal, he's going to have crit, and a lot of AD. Storm Razor being cheaper definitely actually helps him as well because he gets it a little bit quicker, moves into that second item, and the lifesteal even faster after that. So there's more chance for him to really pop off in the lane phase. I guess one of the reasons everybody hates playing against him is because he's very punishing. One mistake means that he's going to cash in on the passive and snowball even harder. So you make one mistake, just one mistake in the lane phase, and it's kind of over. Kai'Sa is the other one that I want to talk about, and she is the opposite of this. So she's an amazing late game. Decent early though if she can get a lead. When ahead, she does snowball really hard, and this is why. She gets upgrades sooner, she can get a Storm Razor, which is so much damage, and she just piles in like straight away and kind of turns a bit bursty. There are lots of build options though. You can build AP to burst a little bit more and use your passive a bit more. You can have crit as well to do more over time. I really like having the flexibility there, and I can also build defense and still do damage, like with a Zhonya's, for example, which is a really good counter to the meta and the burst and the Zeds we have. To round this out, the outplay potential is definitely there with your stealth and your ultimate at the same time. It's a really good counter against diving champions that want to jump on top of you. 3 others I think deserve a mention. Jhin is still a monster pick with the Storm Razor synergy that he has with the 4th crit shot. Does so much damage, and overall one of the most well-rounded picks you can take. Jinx is much better than people realize right now. Storm Razor gives a crazy boost to your rocket damage and then guaranteed 3 crits actually with Runan's 3 AoE rocket crits is nuts. Misfortune is kind of similar to Draven, follows a similar pattern anyway. The ultimate lane bully, really very simple to play, oppressive though to play against, and Dark Harvest makes her snowball so much harder, and it's so much fun. Twitch is my honorable mention, and I want to quickly mention this guy. Slowly been creeping up and more to a point where I think he's good for solo queue at least. Your early game is going to be very weak, and he can't really stand up to like a Draven or a Misfortune or anything like that at 1 to 2 items at all. But at full build, which is cheaper now by the way after those buffs, he will still 1v9 the game with team-wide AoE damage. I think people have forgotten just how deadly a Twitch is late game, honestly. It's a risk if you're pounded early and you just lose, but survive till later and it can really pay off. We're going to move into the mid lane now. It's the most even it's probably ever going to be, honestly. There is not much of a win rate difference between the very top and the bottom unless you're like a Ryze or a Zir. As I said before, Zoe tanked this patch super hard, down to about a 46% win rate from 50% before. Now Ahri is kind of back to the top of the reshuffle really, even after the electrocute nerfs and the rune nerf. I think it's more because it actually works in her favor, kind of. In lane, she normally does charm, then combo to proc electrocute, and then wait for another charm to hit later and go for the kill there, which is actually better with the new electrocute. The second thing is with your charm damage amp now, and also your duration buff, like mid game, it's more than enough damage to actually kill somebody anyway. You don't have to have that extra from electrocute. She does really well versus the new Akali apparently. She also beats a lot of champions like Zoe and Orianna in their current state, which is great for the meta. Ahri is really a safe, well-rounded, like never a bad choice kind of mid laner, honestly, and she's better early now because of those charm buffs. Aurelion Sol is my other mid laner. Now, I know a lot of you guys don't play him. A lot of people don't play him, but he is a busted champion, I swear. Extremely strong in the current meta and so underrated. It's quite difficult to use him properly and to get to grips with, but once you have that base level of kind of understanding, you're more than fine. Apparently, in 8.16 so far, about 1% of games end before 15 minutes with Aurelion in them, and he has won 72% of those. Before 20 minutes, he's won around 62%. I take them with a pinch of salt from the last solo queue game, of course, but still, even with that, like, it goes to show how beastly this guy roams. With that, you get pretty tanky, to be fair, while still doing a lot of damage, and you can impact every single lane on the map very early into the game. Corrupting Potion and Time Warp Tonic, by the way, is an amazing combo on him. It's just so busted. Zed is also pretty good right now. The electrocute nerf didn't hit him that hard. He's still able to demolish people, which is a good sign for assassin players. We're not back to a tank meta. Fizz also did take a hit from the nerfs, but it wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be. Still top tier in my opinion, and especially with a few items. Lux is the one I want to mention properly at the end of this, been quietly kind of solid for a few patches now, even though I don't see her that much in my games. She's got one of the better mid lane win rates at the moment. I wasn't affected by the nerfs this patch at all, and if she has like a slightly easier lane phase, she can get to that one-shot burst a little bit easier as well in theory. I still think she is one of the best at catching people, at poking them, deleting them, and basically just like playing the game as a 5v4, which is obviously really good for your team. Kind of like a budget Zoe, less annoying Zoe, I guess. So the jungle had two quite big shifts in it this patch, to Evelynn and to Taliyah. So Taliyah was probably the #1 jungler last patch, and now has dropped from a 54% win rate to about 50 to 51%, which is just kind of average really. The nerfs hit way harder than we thought, but it was also the runes and the direct nerfs at the same time. So Evelynn was probably the #2 jungler and banned a ton more than anyone else, and now a decent bit worse actually. Still very good though, you still want to ban her probably, but floating back around like Graves level rather than standing out at the very top. So Jax is my first to talk about today. His early is pretty awful actually, but he only needs a few items before he is going to pop off. Devourer or Sinhulk both work pretty well. I kind of up to you really, and the game, like what your team needs, stuff like that. You get pretty tanky with some health either way, so it doesn't matter that much, and then when you dive in, you smash people to bits, and you kind of win from there. He is easy to play though as a jungler, easy to farm with, easy to get that root down, good dueling, good scuttle control. Your ganks are not going to be the best, but like that's not really why you pick him. He's winning a lot at the moment versus junglers who can't get far enough ahead of him and like snowball that lead. So as long as he hasn't like shat the bed too hard early, he'll still stand a chance to win. Now Xin Zhao is moving up a little bit as well, with the electrocute junglers falling off more, but he's actually like so pants versus Jack. Counter-Strike messes him up really bad. Jack's outscales as well, but Xin has some pretty nutty damage early that he can use. You kind of pick him though to find the enemy jungler, to invade, to duel people, and snowball the game from an early lead. You kind of do have to get ahead though with that early lead if you want to carry yourself and not rely on your team, but it isn't too difficult to do when you're almost always going to win like 1v1 or 2v2 fights. He's been around for a long time. After his rework, he kind of floats up and down a lot. This patch is definitely one of those upward trends though, and he is really good. Rammus is going to be my honorable mention today. So I told you tank meta isn't 100% back, but a little bit. He was buffed in 8.16, right? I doubt that is going to be just the change though. Like it wasn't that big. Korea was already using him. That's kind of what I mean. He's an amazing counter to AD teams, right? Which we have a lot of now, at least like AD carry and AD top laner and AD jungle normally. With the new jungle changes though, you will not see him like perma gank that often anymore. They kind of reduced that, but once he gets Sinhulk and Thornmail together at 2 items, he's almost unkillable while he smashes you in the face and actually does a lot of damage. So support is thankfully back to a bit more playmaking, which is awesome. I'm gonna talk about one engaged playmaker and another more passive one. So Leona's buffs were insane. We all thought they would be kind of, but she is climbing in win rate every single day now. The meta is ideal for her, like fights all the time, lots of action, aggressive AD carries, and still a lot of weak targets to go for bot lane. The buff was to a W, by the way, so you max his first now. The cooldown is a lot lower, rank 5, and with cooldown reduction, that's even lower. So what it means is you keep the resistances up a ton now, and you're very hard to kill while pumping out some very good damage still. It's a really low like time between when you have it active and when it's ready again. Once you combine that with Aftershock, you're just way tankier. You're a real frontline threat, like a frontline tank that will dive in and waste a lot of time to actually kill. Now Sona is the opposite, right? Really good prey for Leona. For more passive players who want to make stuff happen in team fights, Sona's ultimate is really good for turning around the fights or setting things up. So especially if you have like an aggressive AD that has a bit of damage, like a Misfortune or Draven, you can win your lane. Athene's will make that even better though. You'll start doing a lot more damage yourself. You'll scale better. A lot of items like an Ardent Sensor, Redemption will give you more AP from the passive. That means that your damage does more, but so do your heals as well. And then you spam them more because of your ultimate built-in cooldown reduction. You do kind of risk a little bit with her, I think. In lane, you can get like hard smash, but if you don't, then if you like make it to your items and your team fights and stuff, you have a huge impact. With the return of Leona, it means the return of Alistar as well. A great playmaker who can frontline for your team and absorb a lot of damage as a tank there. Another one, Nami, even with the nerf, she is still top tier. A lane bully who has a good heal as well, good setup, while still being able to turn everything around for protection if she needs to. Now Thresh is a support that I never mentioned bot lane because he's kind of like the Lee Sin of supports. It's all about the player really, but saying that, his win rate is quite high for how much he's played, and I think he's in a pretty good spot for now, just in time for that sick new skin, by the way. It's more about getting ahead early and using your lane pressure as Thresh now, but even as a counter to Leona as well, flaying her Zenith Blade, her E. Stuff like that separates an amazing Thresh from an average one. So finally, top lane is moving back a little bit to a tank meta. You don't have to play tanks, but it definitely helps and makes your life a little bit easier. Sion had the buffs in 8.16 where he gets more maximum health from minions. So over the game, he's is getting just a tad bit more beefy. I mean, you're going to have that passive, you're going to have Warmogs, Overgrowth from your runes, Resolve Tree, all giving you a ton of health at the same time. It's gross. From what I can tell from like win rates and stuff, it looks like the late game he will still melt versus AD carry, so it's not that bad. It's kind of like early to mid game where he's refusing to die, and we don't really have the tools to get through him. That's where he's a problem. Arcane Comet is coming back a little bit more now. Glacial Augment is a good option as well as Grasp. There are loads of different keystones and runes you can take and builds to use. Malphite is kind of the flip side of this actually. There are no buffs or anything to him at all, but a good choice if you want some easy LP. He does a really good job of countering more AD based laners. Even like a Quinn actually is going to struggle even though she's really strong. Versus people who don't tend to build that much defense though, his ultimate and base damage with Comet can go a really long way, and it's a really good build. It's kind of the same as Rammus though, like having engage and crowd control mid game in this meta can work wonders. It can win game. Okay, so Garen is still absolutely busted apparently. His win rate is nuts and it is not slowing down at any time soon apparently. Darius is very similar. Amazing if he gets ahead, can ignore towers and pop off. Honestly, he doesn't mind too much whether they are tanks or carry matchups. He's going to kill them anyway. Yorick is the last one we talk about in this video. He's sitting quietly close to the very top of the role in 8.16 and a monster if he can get a lead. I am so afraid of this pick, honestly. Like, his damage is insane. He gets pretty tanky, heals for a lot, but he's so punishing. This is why he's really good for solo queue and how I lose most of my games versus a Yorick. You can split with your ultimate and Q, right? And if they leave you alone with a tower for like 10 seconds, it's pretty much gone. That can honestly turn around games that you should be losing. Like, they leave you just for a little bit of time. This is a mistake and you're going to take an inhib. So that is my wrap up for this patch. Hopefully it gives you a better idea of where things landed after the changes. Thank you for watching. Remember to check out pro guides and enter the giveaway down in the comments, but I'll catch you in the next video.